Welcome to Well Rounded. I'm your host, Tiffany Parker. I'm back! Hello, everybody. It's been so very long. I have not done an episode for like 2 weeks, which is the longest break I've taken. But you know what? Your girl needed it. I didn't do an episode the week before Thanksgiving because things were just super busy, and honestly, I had nothing to talk about and I had not had time to have a guest on. And then the week of Thanksgiving, I didn't do one in advance because I didn't do one the week before. So, but it was really, really good for me. I was kind of getting a little frustrated and overwhelmed with this whole process, and it was nice to have a break to just not worry about it. And I really don't think taking that kind of a hiatus is really going to affect me all that much, to be honest. So it was nice to have a tried and true refresher. I barely posted on social media too. I set a hard and fast boundary on work. I did work on stuff for the business because you never truly get a day off on stuff like that. But it was a lot lighter though than I have been. So very excited to be back though. I feel invigorated. I feel anew. So very, very excited. Thanksgiving was so much fun. It was nice. We're all trying to eat a little bit healthier in my family. And so we did an exclusive beef meat related Thanksgiving. So our main meal was steak, and then we had charcuterie without crackers. Well, my mother did get crackers and chips, which were not on the diet, but they were better chips, I guess. But yeah, we had charcuterie, so we had a lot of cheese, and then we made some what's called pork roll. It's one of the most delicious meats ever. And let's see what else we had. We had applewood bacon, which I learned is just how the bacon is smoked before you cook it and stuff. And yeah, so we had bacon, steak, pork roll. We had sandwich, or not sandwich, but deli meats, because that's what charcuterie has a lot of. So salami, pepperoni, things like that. So it was a lot of meat, a few vegetables here and there. I had a salad because I kind of wanted something leafy and green. But yeah, it was really, really fun. And then my brother made some low sugar desserts that were actually rather yummy. Well, I only had the one, but yeah, it was interesting. It's the first Thanksgiving where we didn't have, and then of course we had turkey as well, but that was the only thing Thanksgiving related that we had that was stereotypically Thanksgiving, because everything else is loaded with carbs and butter and all that stuff. So we're saving the unhealthy eating, or unhealthier eating, for Christmas, because we do Italian family Christmas dinners, and in my opinion, pasta is worth the carbs more than mashed potatoes are. So that is my hot take, but I don't think it's that hot of a take, actually. And stuffing's never done it for me. The only thing I really did miss were the rolls. My mom makes Rhodes rolls, and they're the greatest rolls on the planet. They're so good. They're light and fluffy. The way she bakes them, we call them guppy rolls because they kind of look like a mushroom and they swell up. So good. So that was the thing that I missed the most, was real chocolate and bread. But yeah, stuffing's not that tempting. I like mashed potatoes and gravy as much as the next person, but it's not my favorite potato dish though. I think if I had to choose between mashed potatoes and French fries, I'd probably go with French fries. So anyways, it was a very protein-filled Thanksgiving dinner, and not one of us was mad about it. So anyways, on to the main event. And I hope that a lot of people listen to this so that I don't have to keep saying the same things over and over and over and over again, because people have asked me a lot of questions. So if you haven't guessed already, I am talking about the Wicked movie. Okay, that's what this whole episode's going to be about. I'm going to go from beginning to end, and we're going to talk about everything under the sun. I didn't see opening weekend. because I was actually driving to Arizona, and so we saw it. I actually saw it on Saturday, just this last Saturday. And so I have much to say about it. And a lot of people, I said this in other episodes, but a lot of people were asking me what I thought, if I was excited about it, blah, blah, blah. Anyone who knows me knows I've been obsessed with Wicked pretty much my whole life. I started singing lessons when I was 11. And so Wicked was a very, very early part of my life. And I know it's like everyone loves Wicked. That's like, you're not special. But I have been training my voice to these songs for almost 2 decades now to make sure that I could hit them in case I had the opportunity. So anyways, we're going to talk about the Wicked movie, and I'm so excited to talk about it. And anyone that asks me, I'm just going to send them the link to the podcast, because I've already had like 3 separate conversations with people about it, and I love analyzing and I want to talk to people about it, but I'm kind of saying the same things over and over and over again. So here we go. First of all, for those who may or may not be new, or who maybe don't know me very well, why am I qualified to talk about Wicked? Well, first of all, even if you're not qualified to talk about it, who cares? Talk about what you want. But I will say, I am a professional voice teacher, and I have been taking private voice lessons since I was 11 years old. I'm 28, almost 29. Ew. Kill me. And so I have been, like I said, I've been training my voice to this show basically my whole life, almost more than half of my life at this point. And so I've seen it 3 different times on stage. I got to shadow when they came to Utah. I got to shadow the audio engineer and ask him a bunch of questions. I really want to go shadow the engineer again when they come back, now that I actually know things, because when I shadowed the guy on tour, I had just barely started studying sound. I was literally in my first sound design class, and so like he would say stuff and I was like, oh, and like I barely knew what he was talking about. I did ask some questions that were actually pretty good questions, but they were very basic questions that like I'd be able to answer myself now, you know? So anyways, I do hope that I can shadow either the one in Arizona or the one in Utah, because I might be going home to see it with my family on stage in Arizona in March. So anyways, I've been studying this show for a long time, and I've also kind of been testing my voice to Idina Menzel because of that show. So like when Frozen came out, as lame as a movie as that is, I mastered Let It Go, and then the musical came out, so then I worked on Monster, which is a song that was added to the Broadway musical, and it's awesome. It's way better than Let It Go, and things like that. So, and then I've seen Idina Menzel and Christian Chenoweth just solo in concert and stuff like that. And so this show holds a very special place in my heart, holds a very special place in everyone's heart. It is for everyone. So I'm not trying to sound like, this is my show and you can't love it because you don't love it as much as I do. Ew, I hate people like that. Wicked is beloved because it is good. It's genuinely well done, well written, from the music to the script to the production to the choreography to like every element is so good. I kind of have been telling people it's kind of like Disney, where it's like a spectacle and it has to be a spectacle every single time or else it's kind of disappointing. And like Disney kind of has that same standard to it, except Wicked was a stage show first, whereas Disney stuff was a cartoon first. And so that's a little bit different of a situation, and I think the music in Wicked is stunningly and brilliantly written, and we will talk about why. But first of all, I have to say something very important. So if you've listened to other episodes or if you've talked to me in person, you know that I was extremely skeptical of many elements of this show. So things that I was worried about going into it, that was making me really, really cautious about it and showing excitement for it, is one, the talent. Yeah. And that's not because Cynthia and Ariana are not talented. I know they're talented. They both have been on Broadway. Ariana Grande, a lot of people don't know this, but she is the original voice on at least one Broadway cast. Like, she's part of the original cast of a show. It's called 13 the Musical. It's kind of like a teeny bopper musical. But I don't know the timeline, but I think she did that either while she was in Nickelodeon or before she was on Nickelodeon. So girl has a set of pipes. I don't know who's writing her music for her, but I don't feel like they showcase her voice very well in her songs. Because her voice is insane. It's stunning. It's incredible. And she does show it off quite a bit in other scenarios, but some of her music, I'm like, doesn't really do it for me. And that's my opinion. And then Cynthia Erivo, I've only seen like the clips of her in The Color Purple, I think is the musical, and it's amazing. So I wasn't worried about the talent as far as like vocal skill, because Wicked has the budget both on stage and on screen to pick the best of the best. Like, it's not like they're ever desperate to find talented people. Like, talented people are always auditioning for that show, and they can pick and choose whoever the crap they want. And so Wicked doesn't really need the fame aspect to help it out. Now, of course, they kind of did use that, but they happened to pick famous people who were also very talented. You know what I mean? So it's nice when you have both, right? Some musicals don't do that though. And that was part of the problem, I think, for a lot of people with Les Mis, is they seemed to be relying on fame a lot more. Hugh Jackman's legitimately talented. Anne Hathaway's legitimately talented. A handful of the other main people in the cast were legitimately talented. But like Nick Jonas though? Are we serious? He's talented in his own way, but not for musical theater though. He has a very, very pop, very tight voice. And if you watch him sing, he has a lot of neck and tongue tension. It's like really hard for me to watch. All of the Jonas Brothers do, but that's a separate conversation for another day. But all of these people are super duper talented. I was worried about Jonathan Bailey. Oops, sorry, I'm shaking. I'm trying to move my cable. I was worried about Jonathan Bailey because I'd only seen him in Bridgerton. Didn't know who he was until Bridgerton, and Bridgerton just did not do it for me personally. I'm not a fan of that time period in general. They all did great, like great acting. I liked a lot of things, but it's just, it's just not my cup of tea. But I did watch every episode, so, But I have to say, sorry, I got off topic. This is going to be a whole stream of consciousness episode. I'm so sorry. So I was worried about the quality, not because of the singing ability, but because of like acting choices. Oftentimes when a show is this big and has this much of a standard and has been going for like almost 20 years, the musical came out in like 2003. So we're actually past 20 years now, if I'm remembering the date. It's in the early 2000s, like 2003 or 2006 or something like that. And so it's been around for 2 decades. And so oftentimes what a lot of people like to do is they'll be like, oh, I want to put my spin on it, or I want to do my version of it, or whatever, to try and be edgy and cool or whatever. And I'm like, girl, first of all, you're a different person than the original, okay? Like Cynthia Erivo is a different person than Idina Menzel. So already it's gonna be your take, because unless you copy every single mannerisms and copy her voice and copy her hand gestures and copy literally everything she does, it's already your version because you are a different person, okay? Like, it bothers me when actors do that. And so I didn't know if they were going to do that, okay? Second of all, I was worried about the mix of it, yeah? Oftentimes with musical movies or movies that have music or songs in them, they're often what I call overproduced. And what I mean by that is that it sounds like all of the character has been stripped away from their voices. And it sounds really, really fake, and it sounds really over-edited too. And so it doesn't sound like they're singing in front of you. It sounds like they're lip-singing to their own super-duper edited voices. And so I just learned today from my recording studio session that I had today that could possibly be an auto-tune thing. And anyways, there's like a whole side of technology to that. So I was worried that it was going to be overproduced and over edited. That's my number one problem with Into the Woods, the movie. There's like a recorded version of Into the Woods where they're just on stage and it's just like a wide shot of them on stage and it zooms in a little bit and follows them, but it's like literally the original cast on stage, kind of how Hamilton did it and how like Newsies did it, but the technology wasn't as good back then, so it's like way fuzzier and like not as crisp and clean. But then they made an Into the Woods movie, and what's crazy is every single one of those people in that cast was super duper famous and really talented. Meryl Streep's amazing. Emily Blunt's amazing. I'm not a huge fan of Anna Kendrick singing, but it wasn't a problem for that role. And then like Chris Pine was awesome. The other guy was awesome. Like, everybody was awesome and like really good actors. They have musical theater backgrounds too, which helps because film and live theater are just very different mediums. And so you kind of have to make some different choices based on that. So that's my main problem with Into the Woods is it's like these are meaningful songs that have vast dynamic ranges and require a lot of emotion and all this stuff. And like I got none of that from that movie. And so it was super disappointing and I really don't like watching it. So I was worried that it was going to be overproduced and poorly mixed too. One thing I will say, The Greatest Showman is probably like the greatest movie musical ever created. And I say that as like a movie musical that was a movie first. Like it hasn't been on stage ever, so it's like it's a tried and true movie musical. But it's mixed weird. Like the songs are really, really loud and then the dialogue is really quiet. And I'm like, it sounds like, and I was listening to it on my drive as I was driving to and from, because it's a really good like driving movie if you need to watch a movie to kind of help stay awake because it has a lot of music. But like the music would be so loud and then the dialogue would be so quiet. And so it seemed like a different person edited the songs than a different person that edited the dialogue. And it seems like they didn't work together while they were editing it, because you shouldn't have to dramatically turn up and down your volume between songs and dialogue. Like that's just like a rookie mistake there. So I was worried about that as well. As well as like too much reverb, too much auto-tune, too much compression, too much all that stuff. I knew they were singing live, but they still have to edit stuff. Like they still have to put reverb in, they still have to put the room in, they still have to like put a lot of stuff into it, even though it's live. You know what I mean? So that's what I was worried about. Then I was worried that there would be, because the first half, it's part one, right? So the first half is 3 hours long. The entire musical is less than 3 hours. And so obviously, knowing that, we knew that they were going to add stuff, right? And so I was worried that the stuff that they were going to add was going to have like an agenda of some kind, whether you agree or disagree with the agenda stuff. It's just annoying. I think it's annoying for everyone, no matter what side of the political spectrum or value spectrum you're on. Like, just tell the story and have it be entertaining. And if there's a message in there, have it be relevant. Like, don't just throw crap in where you can throw crap in. And so I was worried that they were going to do that what they were going to add was going to be like political things or other things like that, and it was gonna be just because they can and they wanted to and stuff like that. So those were the main things that I was worried about. What I knew was going to be good was that they were singing live, so that brought me a lot of hope. And I'm assuming everyone was singing live. I don't know why you would have the two mains only sing live and not anyone else. Nothing sounded overproduced to me on any other voice, so I'm assuming they all just sang live, which is fabulous. So what gave me hope was that they were singing live. I learned that Cynthia Erivo did her own stunts. Awesome. I've always thought if I ever was an actor, I'd always, I'd go to fight training or I'd do my own stunts or things like that, as long as they were stunts that I could like reasonably do. Like if it's like round off back handspring flippy things, I was able to do those once upon a time. No more. The spine says no. So, but like that's super duper cool, really impressive. You have to change how you sing when you're strapped to a harness suspended in the air. Fun fact. And those songs are not the easiest songs to sing for Miss Cynthia. So really, really impressed by that. Really loved it. I saw a lot of interviews before I saw the movie. And so kind of against my will, they kind of showed up on my For You page on every social media platform. And so, but it seems like they were really trying to be true to the musical. And like, both Cynthia and Ariana were like really passionate about that. And that made me happy. And I think that made a lot of people happy. Because again, there's a standard that is expected. And this is one of those shows that does not need any doctoring. Like, it's so good. And it's like, it is probably Broadway's, maybe next to Hamilton and maybe like Phantom of the Opera and Les Mis or something. Like, it is one of Broadway's best-selling shows. If you write a show that is Wicked level, you are a millionaire. And a lot of the people involved in that show at the beginning are probably now worth several $1 million. And that's separate from the movie. Like, Wicked is Wicked because it's that good. You know what I'm saying? So I really appreciated that. And then I knew that the effects, the set, the CGI, all of the like production value stuff, I knew that was going to be awesome because the film world is not limited in the same way that the stage is, you know, and that's not a criticism to the stage, that's just the reality. So I knew that the production value was going to be good. The backgrounds, the sets, the whatever CGIs they did. I do know they did quite a few real sets and they built a lot of stuff, but they didn't build all of it. Some of it is CGI, and that's really okay. CGI has come such a long way. So yeah, I knew that was going to be good. So we know what I was skeptical of, what I was excited about, that gave me some hope and some promise. Now I will say the statement that I promised I would say. If you are an active listener to this podcast, or if you have fallen behind and then have since caught up, you have heard me say several times that I didn't think this movie was going to be good and that I would love to be proven wrong. And if I was wrong, I would admit it. So let me just say, for the camera, for the podcast, for the Instagram, I was wrong. And I have never been so happy to be proven wrong in my life. You guys, this movie was so good. I was very worried about a great many things, and it exceeded all expectations. The standard for this, in my eyes, was high. I'm an analytical person. I'm on the production side of theater and I'm on the performance side of theater. And so I have many opinions, and there are many things that it takes to create a good show. And it's very bold and very ballsy of them to turn that musical into a movie. And they killed it. Like, absolutely knocked it out of the park. So this is gonna be a longer episode, obviously, but worth it. And I'm just gonna send this to people. So from the beginning, they followed everything. Like, everything was in the right order, the right sequence of events happened, and it happened pretty much how it happens on stage, obviously with more gravitas, more oomph, more drama, more all this stuff, right? Because again, they can have different camera angles, you can use drones, like you can, you're just not limited by a lot of things. So they started off right. They started off with the beginning scene with Galinda coming in the bubble, and she's like, well, we were friends. We met at school, and then it like is a flashback and stuff. All amazing. So good. Let's see what else they added. So obviously they added a bunch of stuff. And so the stuff that they added is story enhancing stuff. I've heard from some people that like the script could use some work. I completely disagree about like the script for the stage musical. I completely disagree, but there are some holes in there just because, again, you can't have a 6-hour musical. Okay. And so a lot of the holes that there maybe are in the plot are ones that you can very easily fill in yourself, or you can imagine, or you can kind of guess at, you know, because the stuff that is not in there that they added in the movie is helpful to know and good to know, but it's not a deal breaker, and it doesn't ruin the show, and it doesn't hurt the plot either. So what I don't remember ever happening in the stage show was that she was actually raised by like her caretaker people. That I don't remember happening, but that would actually kind of make some sense. And then they showed a lot more of like the dynamics between her father and between Elphaba's father and her and stuff. You got a little bit more of that kind of a detail, which is really helpful and really important. And then let's see, I loved the scene with the guy at the beginning and the mom of Elphaba. I'm trying not to spoil certain things because I know a handful of people who have not actually seen the stage show, and you can't really figure out the second half. You can a little bit, but there's a lot of things that are left out in the second half of the soundtrack that you kind of see why she becomes evil. Like, you find out she becomes like bad or whatever, but you don't really know why, because there's a lot of dialogue in between that is not in the Broadway cast recording. And so I'm trying not to spoil certain things, so I'm trying to be careful of what I say and how I say it, because I just talked to my nail tech and she had all these questions. I was like, you're gonna find out in the second half. So anyways, so you'll find out the rest of your questions eventually, but you really should go see it on stage though, because your likelihood of being able to see the second half on stage sooner than the second movie coming out is very high, especially if you're in Utah or in Arizona. They're coming next year. So I would go see it if I were you, and then you can get your questions answered. But the guy in the beginning where he's like, have a little drink of my dark-eyed beauty, where we see the Elphaba's mom having an affair, that was really well done. It gave me like icky vibes, like, ugh. Whereas on stage, it doesn't quite do it as much, just because you're from a distance and you're seeing it kind of not two-dimensionally, but you're seeing it on like a proscenium stage instead of like up and close, and you're, you know, things like that. So that was really well done, and it's just gonna make the big reveal so much better later. Let's see, because there's kind of a plot twist, and it's like a really juicy plot twist, and it's really fun. If you've seen the musical, you already know, so you already know what I'm talking about. But then let's see, I'm not going to go through every single detail, but those are the ones that popped out. One thing that I was kind of sad, and it's like, this is me being nitpicky because I can, is they didn't have the dragon clock. So when you walk in to the show on stage, the curtain is down and you see the map of Oz, and it has like a green emerald light in the middle, and then at the top of the set, and they're very big on this. I've done master classes, I've done like vocal master classes with like the music director of Wicked. My voice teacher and his boss have coached a lot of Elphabas on Wicked, and like I took from my voice teacher's boss, I took a lesson from him, and he was like, have you ever been seen for Elphaba? And I was like, no. Like, and he just said it like it was a normal Tuesday. And I was like, no. He's like, you should be. I was like, I'm like, okay. Can you help a sister out? Anyways, so like they're very big on that dragon clock. And so there's a dragon clock at the beginning, or not at the beginning, but at the top of the set. And it's very dramatic. Like, it's impossible to miss. And it chimes at a certain point, which I'm not going to say why, and it kind of comes to life and it moves and stuff like that. Not a big deal. It really doesn't have anything to do with the plot at all, but she did mention it. Ariana Glinda did mention it in the beginning, but then we didn't see it. And something that would have been fun, again, that you can't do on stage, is they could have had a flying dragon clock. And like, that totally would have been believable. Who doesn't love a dragon? Literally no one. Everyone loves a dragon moment, even if the dragon's a bad guy. So that just would have been cool. So again, that's me being nitpicky, because that is like a really, it's just like a big part of the set. You know what I mean? So anyways, that was something that I wish they would have done because she mentions it in the beginning. And then let's see, the effects were so cool. I loved her like bubble and her little like machine thing. That was awesome. We were all chuckling at that. I'll just overall, first of all, choreography, amazing. I hope that choreographer gets all the awards in the world because it was so good. And the stage choreography is also extremely incredible. But again, you're on a stage, you know what I'm saying? So choreography was amazing. And then I was worried, one of the other things I was worried about is that Cynthia Erivo would be like really emo and kind of like depressed and pissy, but she had so much personality, and she's supposed to have a lot of personality. Like she's supposed to be like kind of a smarter than everybody vibe, but like still funny, but like has like some insecurity that she's clearly fighting through, but she's also trying to overcome that stuff. And then, you know, there's the whole thing with Fiero. Like she has personality. She's not just like a depressed woman the whole time. And so the clips that I had seen kind of like made it seem that way, but she was awesome. She had so much personality. She was so fun. And she had like her little smirks that she did that I loved because that's very on brand for the character. But then she had the vulnerable moments and like, oh, it's so good. It was so good. I was like, thank you, girl. So that was really, really nice. She did an amazing job the whole time. I loved her riffs that she did. Here's the thing with riffing, and I've talked about this before. You can do riffs in musical theater, but they kind of need to have a purpose. There's no like official rule where you'll go to musical theater jail if you do that, but it just doesn't land as well in the world of musical theater. And so what I've been taught and what I kind of agree with, frankly, is that if you're going to do a riff of some kind, it needs to have a reason behind it. You know, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Because a character that you're playing doesn't always call for it. If you're singing your own song that you wrote on your own album and you are an awesome riffer like Christina Aguilera or Ariana Grande, riff away, girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? But when you're playing a different character that isn't you, you have to think like, okay, is this something the character would do? Is sustaining this note not powerful enough to where I have to do something else to it? So I thought that the little riffs that she added were very tasteful and helped enhance a lot. And they came from an emotional place. And so I really liked that. I will say my hot take though, I still don't like the riff that she does at the end of Defying Gravity. The or whatever it is, the one that's going viral on Instagram right now. I don't love it. It's not bad by any means. Like she nails it. And that's actually a really hard riff to do because I've been trying it for several days. But I don't feel like it's necessary, especially not for that song. So, and I'm of the mindset too that like sustaining a note and staying in tune the whole time is actually much more impressive than moving on it. So that's my hot take. Again, it did not bother me at like hardly at all. I don't love it. I feel like that was the one place where it was just too much and it just made it a little too long. And it, in my opinion, it kind of took the sales out of the build-up just a little bit. Again, not horrible at all, but I'm being nitpicky because I can and I want to be. But other than that, Cynthia Erivo was awesome. Amazing, amazing, amazing. She did the character true and she did right by the character because literally all of us want to be in her shoes right now. So all of us want to be Elphaba, and it's really hard to watch someone who is not doing a good job on something like that when you know you could. So she did amazing. Like I loved it, and her voice is just silky, buttery, chocolatey deliciousness. Okay. Now, on to Ariana Grande. I was worried that, like, I kept thinking, like, she's just a little too famous. Like, it's hard for me to look at her and not think, oh, that's Ariana Grande, you know? But a moment of silence for how amazing she did. Oh my gosh. Ariana Grande was incredible. Like, because with this show, you have to have two very powerful women who can very much hold their own against each other, right? With each other and against each other. Not in a competitive way, but like, you can't have a strong Elphaba and a weak Galinda. or vice versa, a strong Galinda and a weak Elphaba, it really, really ruins the dynamic of the show. And it's like a huge problem. You know what I'm saying? Ariana Grande did so effing good. I don't know who I liked better, Cynthia or Ariana. Like, and that's exactly how it should be. Like, as frustrating as Galinda's character can be sometimes, like, they both have to be so strong and so good, and you should kind of have a little bit of a battle with it, like that. And so she did such a good job. Like, all of the little tosses, that's something that happens on stage, by the way. Like, that's a character thing that all of them do on stage. I've seen a couple different casts, obviously. So that's totally on brand from the character. And then I loved all of the kind of choreography, I guess, with like the timing of the props that like opened on the beats. That was so exciting when she like, especially on Popular, when she like kicked the switch and is like, popular, bing, I wanna be, you know, and it like everything opened at the right time and it was like all automatic. Oh, that was so good. And then she was like climbing on everything, and then she was dancing away and all this stuff. And Ariana Grande is a riffer. Like, she can riff her little booty off, and she's very, very good at it. And she didn't as much. Like, she did a few things here and there, but like amazing. Like, she did not go off crazy willy-nilly like I was expecting her to, and like she can. And I loved it. I loved it so much. And then she was so good, like, especially on the close-ups, you could see the hint of insecurity coming in. You could see, like, where she was, you know, oh, I'm special and all this stuff. Like, you could see all the arrogant moments, of course, but her moments of insecurity or, like, sadness or, like, wanting to be accepted were very apparent, but not because she was obvious. Like, she did such a good job, because in film, you can't be so dramatic. Like, you kind of have to tone some things down just a little bit, or else it looks like overacting. And so there were so many moments of close-ups on her face, on her eyes, where she would like look to someone else or look at someone else, and you could see that insecurity or that sadness. Because at the end of the day, Galinda and Elphaba want the same things. They want to be accepted. They want to be treated as equals. They want to be loved. Like, they want the same things. The way they go about getting it are very different. And so that's what makes this show so interesting. You have the pink and the white and the green and the black, you know, like they're constantly opposites who want the same end result. And oh, it's just so good. And so Ariana Grande did such a good job, and she completely held her own with Fiyero. She held her own with Elphaba. She held her own with everyone else. Like, oh my gosh, so good. So freaking good. And then of course, freaking, Jonathan Bailey. So I had seen Bridgerton, obviously, and he was great. I thought he was one of the more attractive brothers. I liked the first brother and the third brother. The middle brother was okay, but I liked his personality better. I didn't think he was super attractive. Holy crap, Jonathan Bailey, though, was very, very sexy. He was like, wow. I was telling some people, it's not very often that, like, a movie, that, like, a romantic character in a movie makes me go, ooh. And Jonathan Bailey did that for me. And that's exactly how Fiyero's supposed to be. Like, he's super charming, he's super sexy, he's super smooth, all this thing. And like, Jonathan Bailey did such a good job on that. Holy crap. And he even took it a step further, again, because you can be a little bit more intimate with film, because you can get just closer in proximity. And like, when he was wooing the librarian, I was like, oh my gosh, like all of my girl senses were tingling, you know? And oh my gosh, he did such a good job. But then he did a good job of like actually being into, you know, secretly being into Elphaba and liking how she, you know, doesn't care what others think, and she's being truly herself and all this stuff. Like, that whole triangle, love triangle, absolutely happens on stage. It's pretty obvious on stage. But like, it's even more heightened on camera, because you can get so close. And if you have good actors, like we did, praise the Lord, that can convey that in a way appropriate for film without overacting, Oh my goodness, it was so good. Also, I was telling my sister this, it's like, I am a hoe for a man leaning against a door jamb. I don't know what it is, but when their arms are crossed and they're kind of leaning against the door frame or the pillar or whatever, something happens to me. Something happens and it's beyond my control. It's just really hot for some reason. So anyways, such a good job. So the importance of this show, you have to have strong main three. You have to have strong everybody. Like, the ensemble also has to be very, very strong. Like I said, the show is a spectacle with a high standard and a high skill level requirement for everybody. Like, you cannot have a small and crappy ensemble for this show either. The ensemble is just as important as Elphaba or Glinda or Fiyero. Like, 100%. And this is one of those shows where, like, it would be fun to be any role in the show because the ensemble is really involved. It's really fun. The music for the ensemble is really, really good, really stunning. Same thing for, like, Joseph the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Same thing with Les Mis. Like, in Les Mis, you get to be a bunch of different people. And so, like, that's always just so fun. You know what I mean? So it's a great show for literally everybody, actors included. But, like, man, those three characters, they all have to be able to hold their own. And they all have to be able to hold their own against each other, like I said, and then with each other, and all of them dead, especially because Fiyero is really the only male lead. Another thing that makes Wicked so awesome is that the musical theater world is very saturated with women. Like, it is so much harder to be a woman in musical theater. Usually being a woman gets you some benefit in some other careers. You know, if you're a doctor, if you're a pilot, if you're a lawyer, like whatever, like, being a woman can kind of help you get in the door. I have opinions on that, but that's not what we're talking about. Being a woman in musical theater is extremely difficult, and you have an arsenal of competition, and people can just be as nitpicky as they want about anything, regardless of talent. Like, they can be like, oh, I didn't like the cut of her hair, so she's out. You know what I'm saying? So very, very important. So it's a very female saturated field, but most lead roles are men. And so what makes this show awesome, especially to me, and I think to a lot of people, is that the two leads are women. And then Fiyero is technically a supporting role. Like, in the award spectrum, it's though they're the two leading ladies, and then Fiyero is like a supporting role. You know what I mean? So, whereas usually it's the other way around. Usually there's like one or two male leads, and then like the women are still pretty big, but they're like considered supporting roles. You know what I'm saying? So it's just really refreshing, and it's really fun. And it's really cool because, like, hello, that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? That's why I love Six so much too, because it's like, it's not from a feminist point of view. It's just like, oh, there are 6 options in a show that are like all equal, or that are all considered leads. Like, there's no supporting role in the musical Six. Like, all 6 of them are leads, and they all get their own song. They're all in all the group numbers. Like, it's nice because most shows don't have that. If you don't get the one lead role, then you're in the ensemble. You know, again, nothing wrong with the ensemble. You always need good ensemble, but it's like, it doesn't make sense to me from a logistic standpoint. You have all these women and then like no roles for them that are like worth it. You know what I'm saying? So love it, love it, love it. Let's see. What else? Jeff Goldblum. I already knew. I was not worried about him because he was in Thor Ragnarok. Wow, that's kind of a hard word to say. Which is Thor 3. It's the best Thor, in my opinion. And he's like this kind of evil wizard sorcerer of the trash planet thing. And they're basically the same role. Like, they're both kind of magical wizards. Well, wizards, right? In air quotes for those who are just listening. But like, they're similar roles. Obviously, the wizard in Thor is like actually evil, whereas like in Wicked he's just kind of a corrupt human. You know what I'm saying? So, but he did such a good job at that, and like there were some acting choices that he made that were really, really foreshadowing and were really impressive. And so if you don't know how it ends, if you don't know like the plot twist, and if you don't know how she kind of becomes bad and stuff like that, then you probably missed it. But there are some like subtle, and that's the thing, like everybody was so subtle, and that is what makes you a good film actor, is like that subtlety and not trying to show something. Like you just feel it and then it comes through on your face. And so there were several moments that I still have in my mind where I was like, oh my gosh, he's playing this so well. So anyways, so he was fabulous. Of course, he kind of had a shorter part in this half. We will see a lot more of him in the second half, but he did awesome. I also thought Madame Morrible was great too. She's not one that like a lot of people think about, but my voice teacher was the understudy for Madame Morrible. And so the second time I saw it, when I got to shadow the audio engineer on tour, I got to see her play that role, which is just fun for me. So I think about that role a bit more. She was great too, because like she really has to be the supportive teacher and then like completely and then you have to see her kind of evil, self-interested political side come in. So anyways, that was so good. The monkeys getting their wings thing that happens on stage too. It's just less graphic and less dramatic because it's like a costume piece that they put on, and it's obviously not wings growing out of the back. So that was really well done. Like I said, the things that they added were really good and helped fill some of those plot holes. I don't remember every last little detail because I really just wanted to sit and enjoy the show. But there were good foreshadowing moments. There were a lot of like references, and there were a lot of, not cameos, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like hidden shout outs. Oh my gosh. So you guys are probably saying the word as you're listening to this, and I don't know what it is. Hidden eggs? Easter eggs. Wait. No, it's not Easter eggs. Is it? There were things that were referenced that were cool. I think they're Easter eggs, right? Because you kind of got to like find them. Hidden eggs. Something to do with an egg. Something to do with hunting for an egg or something like that. So there were a lot of things like that. There was a moment that my mom caught actually that I didn't quite catch until she said it. And when Glinda was shooing out her little popular friends, and she was like before the dance and stuff, and they're like, it was a scene before they gave her the black pointy hat, and she was like, the two friends, the guy and the girl, were like, I'm gonna rouge my knees, and he was like, rouge your knees, and they like mentioned it a couple times, and my mom was like, oh, that's an Easter egg. That doesn't sound right. I don't think Easter egg is right, but that's a Chicago reference. I'm gonna rouge my knees and roll my stockings down, and all that jazz, right? So that was fun. That was one my mom caught. And then let's see, some questions I got from my family. So the scene at the Ozdust Ballroom, I'm jumping all over the place. I'm so sorry. The scene at the Ozdust Ballroom where Elphaba's like dancing alone. I don't know who choreographed that or whatever, but it's supposed to be awkward. It's supposed to be really uncomfortable. On stage, I think it's a little bit sillier. Usually, like that's usually something that as an audience we laugh at. But I think that each actor, at least on stage, choreographs their own like awkward dance movement thing. Their own awkward dance moment thing for that part. And so I'm assuming, I think so, because every time I've seen it, it's been different. So, but yeah, that scene where Elphaba's dancing alone and there's no music and she's like doing weird stuff and it's kind of silly and it's kind of goofy, but she's just like leaning into it, kind of. That was awesome. That was amazing. It's supposed to feel that way. It's supposed to feel awkward. The fact that she got tears to stream down her face really, really made it powerful, and is really impressive. Crying on command is not easy, let me tell you. When I'm in my luteal phase, I can cry on command, but yeah, so that was really good. That was really powerful. I loved what they did to the Ozdust Ballroom. That's like kind of like a cave, like an underwater cave thing. I was not expecting that. It doesn't look like that on stage. obviously, because you can't be underwater with fishies swimming above you on stage. But that was a cool take, though. A lot of the choices that they made as far as like set and scenic and things like that were really cool. And like I kind of expected them to be, but they were cool in ways that I wasn't expecting. And so that was kind of fun. Apparently they built a lot of actual sets. I don't know which ones were real and which ones weren't. There was a decent amount of CGI, I promise. Because there kind of has to be, because like you'd have to take over like a small country to do all real sets like that in every place. I mean, I guess not for film. I guess you can kind of like strike it and then set up something else in the same space, but that's a lot of time and money. But yeah, I just loved how passionate they were about staying true. I need a drink of water for a second. Hold on. But I loved how passionate the actors were about being true. And apparently Ariana Grande was kind of like the ringleader for that. They were going to try and turn Popular into a little bit more of a hip-hopized version of Popular. And she was like, no, I don't want people to watch me and feel like they're watching Ariana Grande. I want them to be watching Glinda. And I love that. Like, Ariana Grande does not have to do that. They will do whatever she wants. You know what I mean? And same thing with Cynthia Erivo, I'm sure. And Steven Schwartz was involved in the whole process. So, like, he could have written something up for her lickety-split, you know? But, like, she was super passionate about doing it true to the show. And I really respect that, because it means that they respect the art. They respect the craft. They respect what the show is and what we're expecting from it, and then they took it up several notches. And I love that. And so learning that and then watching more interviews after the movie, because I was trying to avoid as many of them as possible because I didn't want any spoilers or anything like that, because I still wouldn't see it for like a while. And I love that, because I don't know, I hate it when actors are like, I'm gonna do it my way, as if like you're so good that you can rewrite perfection and then do it better. Like, no one ever can. And so just do your best and commit to the part, and it'll be enough, you know? Like, it was more than enough, but it wasn't too much though, you know what I mean? So I was very skeptical of both of them, but they just really did my heart happy. And I appreciate it. Like, this show doesn't just connect with musical theater nerds. This show connects with everybody. And it's not that serious of a show. Like, this isn't a life or death type of a thing where it's like, oh, this changes the course of the world. But like, we relate to it though. You know what I mean? Like, I relate to it. Everyone relates to it in some way. Like, it's not just about skin color. Like, it's about all sorts of things. And I could go off into like how I relate to it and how meaningful it is for me, but it's also fun and it's also funny. Like, this show has just a perfect balance of everything. It has, you know, messaging. It has great music, great dance numbers, great group numbers, great sets, great lighting, great sound design, great everything. Like, it just is so great. And it has been from the very beginning. And so to be true to it and to not fix what isn't broken, you know what I mean? It's just so nice, and it's so refreshing, because like, film for the last several years has been doing the exact opposite of that, has been trying to rewrite stuff. I think we're all kind of sick of Disney remakes, you know what I mean? Because they're not as good as the cartoon. Like, they're just not. Like, I have not been impressed with any of them, but this movie did such an amazing job. And then they didn't take the sails out of Defying Gravity. Like, they made that super epic, because that is what you end intermission at. And so right where they cut it off is right where you go to the bathroom and you go, you know, buy your entire paycheck's worth on merchandise. Not that I ever do that, ever. But it's so good and it's so nice. And I have a lot of respect for everyone involved in this movie now, since my opinion means so much to these people who don't know I exist. But like, it's refreshing, you know, and they did such a good job. And like, I really like and really appreciate actors who genuinely have passion for their craft. and performers who have passion for their craft. A lot of actors are like, oh, it's a paycheck, or like, oh, it's about me and only me and how I'm going to do stuff and blah, blah, blah. And that's so frustrating. Like, that's not your job. Like, an entertainer's job is to, I don't know, entertain, perhaps. You know what I mean? And so, like, as much as a lot of people don't like Tom Cruise, for example, he's one of my favorite examples. He's kind of weird dude, whatever. Like, you have your opinions about him. I love him. I love him because he does all his own stunts. He trains for his movies. Like, for Mission Impossible 5, I think that's my favorite one. I think it's 5. He trained his body to hold his breath for up to like 5 minutes, because there was this really long underwater scene and they had to get it in as many takes, or in as few takes as possible. And so he trained his body to hold his breath that long so that they could get a continuous scene and not have to do a bunch of cuts. And like things like that, like he does his own stunts, he cares a lot. He like genuinely just wants to make good entertainment and good film and produce quality stuff. And it is like, if you don't like action movies, then you probably don't like his movies. But like Top Gun, amazing, awesome, super entertaining. Glenn Powell has kind of been trying to follow in Tom Cruise's footsteps in that way, where he's like, I really want to make great entertainment. And I love that. And so I love that these amazing actors were thinking about someone other than themselves. You know, like that's really rare in Hollywood. And they were really caring about their craft and really caring about the integrity of something that already exists and really trying to be true and stuff like that. Like it felt like they were giving to us instead of them just trying to take and take and take. You can always tell when a singer, performer, actor, whatever, is thinking exclusively about themselves. And that's a choice you can make, but that's not your job. Like, the whole point of the entertainment industry is for us. It's for the audience. It's for the people, literally, not literally, but like kind of writing your checks. Like, we're not physically writing out their paychecks, obviously, but like without us, without consumers, without people going out to the movies or going to see shows or going to see, like, they don't have a career. You know what I mean? Like, none of us in the industry have a career if people don't want to go see stuff, or if they don't want to go be entertained, or if they don't want to go like escape or something for a minute. So I just really liked, and you could feel that they were really, really giving. And so everyone that's seen the movie has loved it. I have not heard a single bad thing, from random articles on the internet to people who have like texted me as soon as they saw it. Like I have heard no bad things. And that is what happens when you think about what the point is and what your objective is and what the goal is of the movie, instead of just thinking about yourself. Like, it's just, it's so nice when that happens. They did the same thing with Sonic the Hedgehog. They absolutely destroyed the animation on Sonic. He was this like creepy, lifelike but not lifelike doll looking thing, and we were like, and the internet bullied it enough to where they extended their release date so that they could fix it and make it look more like the video game. And like, that was the best thing they could have ever done. And now we have Sonic 3 coming out this month. So I love it when people think of their audience. It seems like a duh moment, but like a lot of stuff lately has been coming out as like a cash grab or like an easy sell or like things like that. And lo and behold, a lot of those things aren't doing very well. When you try to recreate something that already exists and then you do a worse job at it, it's not great and it's not going to be good for you. So anyways, I gotta end because my voice is tired. But it was such a good movie. I am so happy that I was wrong. And like my family was all like, oh, it was so fun to watch with you. And they're like, I'm so glad that you loved it, you know. And my mom was being all sappy, and so she was like, I'm just so happy you're happy, you know. So anyways, I'm so excited for people who have not seen the musical, don't know much about the musical, to see the second half, we will obviously do a review podcast episode about the second part when it comes out in like a bajillion years, aka next year sometime. But yeah, I'd strongly recommend, if you haven't seen the show and you don't know what's going to happen, going and seeing it live in Utah. They are coming next year. Like, Wicked will tour for a while. You know what I mean? They take breaks, obviously, but like, if you have a chance to go see it, go see it. You will not be disappointed. It obviously won't be as like produced and as like detailed and all the stuff as it is on film, but it's still a very large spectacle and it's still a really grand show. Last time I saw it as an audience member, not behind a console, I was in the farthest back corner of the Eccles Theater, like literally the last seat in the upper corner. Still an incredible experience. It was mixed so well. Instant chills from the very first note. Could hear every word, could understand every word. It sounded great, and it's so big. It's such a big show that like you can see everything from the distance. You know, like it's just it's so good. So I hope this answers everyone's question who is asking me what I thought, my opinions, all that stuff. Now my straightener purchase, my Wicked straightener, is not a fruitless purchase. I now straighten my hair with it with pride, because it was legitimately so well done. And like I said, I've never been more happy to be proven wrong, and I'm not afraid to admit that I was. So I assume everyone has seen it by now. It's so good. If you want to go see it with me, I will go see it with you again. Because it's so good, and I feel like I'm going to pick up on more details that I might have missed, because I was kind of trying to just take the big picture and just allow myself to be entertained. So I'd certainly want to go see it again. So if anyone wants to go see it again in Utah, I will go see it with you if you want me to go with you. I'm a great movie theater audience member. I'm not crazy, but I will say, one last thing. It was weird though for me to not be able to clap after the numbers. That's the only thing that I was like, Because like usually you applaud after all of those big numbers, and they did the numbers just as big and just as grand. And then there's like a little bit of silence afterwards because that's how that goes. And it was like, this is where the applause is supposed to go, but you can't applaud. And so like, my sister would look at me after a number because she sat next to me, and then my mom sat on my other side. And so like, she'd look at me and I'd just be like in my seat, just like quietly clapping, like, yay, you know, because it's like, that deserves a huge round of applause, cheers, all that stuff, like we do when you go see it live. Don't be afraid to cheer and to applaud if you do go see live theater. You'll have some old lady Karen probably glare at you at some point, but like, actors need that energy. Like, that's the fun of live theater for actors, is we get that feedback from the audience as well. It helps us act better. So if you do go see it live, don't be afraid to cheer and applaud loudly after any song that you feel like they earned it. So anyways, love you all. So happy to be back. I'm going to get back into having more consistent guests on. I know that is what the people want, and I am all about giving the people what they want. It's just, like I said, it's just a logistical kind of nightmare a little bit, just getting other people and then editing and all that stuff. And the holiday season is very, very busy and very crazy in the performing arts world. So I've just been a little bit overwhelmed and a little spread thin, especially with like trying to work on my business and trying to not completely just forget about that as well. Cause I need to grow it, and I need to grow it fast. So anyways, love you all. I hope you get to go see Wicked. If you haven't already, please go see it live. But the movie was amazing and I was wrong, and I'm so grateful for it. So I will see you guys next week. I'm planning on having a guest. I don't know who yet because I need people to respond to me, but I'm so happy to be back, and I hope you all enjoyed this episode. I know it's a longer one, but Wicked is not to be skipped through quickly. You need to revel in the details and revel in the good things and all that stuff. So anyways, love you all. I'll see you next week. Bye. Remember to tune in every Wednesday for Well-Rounded Wednesday, and please leave a rating and a review.